Hi, I'm Dave, back in the garage with my Project 944 here. I've got the engine more or less disassembled. I've got at least the pistons out, and now I can see into the cylinder walls, and relative to the other engine, they don't look too bad. There's a few lines, but you can't feel them. There's nothing that catches on your fingernail, so that's good. I will need to check the diameter of the pistons and the bore here to make sure it's still in tolerance, and hopefully I can figure out how to do that, as I've never done this kind of thing before. Matter of fact, I haven't done any kind of, never broken down an engine like this before. I'm not a mechanic, and I don't really give out any advice because I'm just kind of learning it as I go. This is just merely my experience working on this car. I get most of my information from YouTube or the boards, and the Porsche boards out there, which there are a few out there, and they've been really helpful. Clark's Garage is awesome. So that's what I'm using to kind of figure this out as I go. If the engine is not in tolerance, I may have to move on to the next project because I've already sunk more money into my engine budget than I wanted to. I was wanting to move on to other things. So I know if it is in tolerance, I'm going to have to spend even more money on that, but it's at least not having to buy a whole new engine. So that's the plan.
Alright, so the first thing I want to do is to make sure that my micrometer is calibrated. And this is a 3-inch micrometer, or 3 to 4, I guess. And I'm going to see how far off it is. Alright. Sometimes it takes a little bit of doing here. Alright, I think I'm good with that. That's tight in there, I'm good. And now I'm going to check this out and see where we...
So as the picture shows, the micrometer is off by 1/10,000th. So this will have to be adjusted in my measurements. So I think I'll have to subtract that in any of my readings. Alright, so here I have my the pistons I've just pulled out, cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I've already measured these, but this is how I went about that. In the shop manual, it tells you to make the measurement 62 millimeters from the crown. So I made a little dot right there. It's probably kind of hard to see. There's another one on the other side. With those dots, I used my micrometer to measure it. Here's the micrometer, and I try to line it up on those dots, and this is kind of a tricky spot, so you can't really see sometimes, but I should get better lighting. And let's see. There you go. So this is it. So it's right on the dots, and I used the micrometer to measure that. I slide this out, and with this one, it is right at 3.9350.
Since the micrometer is 1/10,000th off, it's actually 3.9349. And here are the measurements for all the pistons. The top number is the standard, and the bottom numbers are the converted metric numbers.
Another bit of information also that's important to note is that these pistons and the block are of tolerance group 0. This is indicated by a stamp on the top of the piston, and there's also a stamp on the block itself as also. But there's also tolerance group 1 and 2, but they're just different, I guess, different sizes that they came from the factory. But anyway, what it really means to me is when these pistons were brand new, they measured, or should measure, close to 99.980 millimeters, and the bore was right at 100 millimeters, giving the clearance 0.02 millimeters. So now, you know, 200,000 miles later, there is a wear limit also indicated in the shop manual of 0.08 millimeters. And so that's what that's my goal. That's what I'm hoping to be within, or at least not too far out. So, alright, so now that I know the diameter of my pistons, now it's time for me to measure the bore. And to do that, I'm going to use a dial bore gauge along with the micrometer. Now, to do that, I'll set the micrometer to exactly 100 millimeters, and which was what the bore was when it was new, and I'll use the dial bore gauge as a reference of that, and see how far out that is. Now, there's plenty of videos. I'm not going through how to use the dial bore gauge and the micrometer. There's other videos for that, and that's how I learned, and those guys are really good, and I really appreciate that was out there. But this is just me doing it. So here it goes.
I'm going to try to zero it out right there. That is about good. Okay, so now that my dial bore gauge is set and zeroed, I can now start measuring the cylinders. And I plan on doing that by measuring. It's going to equal 9 measurements per cylinder. So this will be a position 1, and then a position 2, and a position 3. And I'm also going to do it at the top, the middle, and then at the bottom. So here goes. Here's at the top, close to that ridge, and I'm looking here, and I've got probably it's about 15 micro. Middle is going to be about, it's going to be 1,000th. And down at the bottom, got, I'm calling that about 7,000th. The top, the number I'm going to have at the top is about 1,000th. Middle, 1,000th, and about 7,000th. The bottom, it looks to be about, call that 0.5 to 6. That is right. That is 1,000th. I'll get to it, I guess. Gotta read it. This one is a little bit bigger. I'll call that about 18. That makes sense. It is 1,000. About here, like it's about 6, 7 down, about 7. This is about 4 down. So what I have here is about 15 down, 15 down, about 1 down.
Here are the measurements in standard inches. In red is the maximum clearance, right beside it is the minimum of clearances. These are the same numbers, just converted into metric. You can tell there in red the clearances are out of tolerance.
Alright, so the engine is out of tolerance, which is kind of a bummer, but it's to be expected. It's high mileage, 210,000 miles, and it's 30 plus years old, so that's to be expected. But what can I do from here? What should I do? Replacing it and sleeving it and all that, I mean, I'm not racing it or anything. I'm not sure how, it didn't smoke before, so maybe it'll be okay. New set of rings and bearings and seals, and put it back together and be done with it. And that's what I'm kind of thinking. But I'd like to see what any of you guys out there think and what you would do. I can't spend a heck of a lot of money on it, so that is definitely a factor. And I has planned on doing a whole bunch of things on here, but maybe I'll scale that stuff back. But is the engine worth saving? Also, I've got another engine that I will look into to see. That one's got kind of some bigger scratches in the cylinder walls, and you can really catch your fingernails on them and all that. But I don't know exactly how bad that is. But I'll see if it's still in tolerance or closer in tolerance than this. But anyhow, I appreciate you watching and any advice that you guys have. Thank you.